Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the end of the season David Plosky Power Index rankings. I'm joined today by Mr. Brian Gold himself. Yeah, pump it up for finishing the 11th spot, you shitter. Don't you know, pump it up. You've got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. Hey, turn it down. We'll introduce a real player also coming up. Somebody mute this guy. A little bit, Brian. And then someone who actually accomplished something this year, we have Mr. the AD himself, our executive producer, Mr. Christopher Phillips. Can't hear
it. Discount double check.
That might be the worst opening of all time. Brian, pump it up. Brian pumped it up for 25 seconds when he's in 11th place.
You gotta pump it up.
What a shitter!
He's got it better than us.
Nobody.
We're already derailed. I'm going off the rails here, boys. It's been what, 3 weeks? We had took a 3-week little sabbatical here. Thanksgiving happened. We had one in the can. I lost the footage being Chris had one, but you know what? We're back. And it's the end of the year rankings. The regular season finally finished up last night. And we're going to reveal the fallout, even though it's going to be kind of anticlimactic because we do know the playoff teams already. And we do know, even though there's one person who won't be in the shitter section, we'll reveal them a little later. But we'll jump right in, boys. Coming in at the 12 spot, we have At Least I Beat Drew, Miss Allie Stewart. Excuse me, Miss Allie Johnson. Another rough year for Allie this year. Didn't even come close to a playoff spot. She put up some decent numbers, but could be on the verge of heading into the gulag and getting kicked from the league. Boys, thoughts on Allie's team this year?
She's in the gulag. People were throwing rocks at her. People were chomping at the bit for her spot. She might be relegated here, boys. It's been a bad season. I'm not going to say anything else, but she is in trouble when it comes to a spot in this league.
I think
Brian, the floor is yours.
I think Allie did pretty good to get 4 wins. You know, at one point it looked like it was like hopeless, but in the end, like 4 wins pretty solid. I only had 1 more. I think the biggest mistake that Allie made is that you held on to too many of your drafted players, even when they were hurt or that their value may have been low, and you could have sold them off for anything. Like AJ Brown is a total bust, which is unfortunate. Darren Waller wasn't what he should have been. We've talked about all this before, but I think you could have done more to fix up the team. That's what I think. That's what I probably would have done if I was you. Obviously, I made a lot of trades, and I'll talk about that later. But
so Brian, it sounds like there was a solid roster, but it needed a little tinkering and like better management from the GM position. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think it was a lot of bad luck. She hit on a couple players, and Jalen Waddle was nice, and obviously Dalvin even missed time, so it's just tough.
Also, Allie does have a tendency to play players that she's going to see live. I mean, for God's sakes, Godwin and Brian, who is this on the Lions?
Igwebuike.
Godwin Igwebuike was her running back 2 this week, who had 15 yards and a fumble just because they were seeing him live in attendance, as Dan Campbell got his head beaten by about 20.
I mean, she had no other option. So
no other options, of course. Dan Campbell, apologist below me here. But yeah, Allie, again, the 12th spot. Didn't even come close to sniffing the playoffs. I think she's been in the league, what, 3 years now, Chris?
I think so, 3 years.
3 years, and I don't even think she's been above 500. Might get a little choppy, but we're moving to the 11th spot. And Brian, are you pumping it up here? Mr. 5 and 8?
I should not be number 11.
Brian, your team's ass, and you finished with the 2nd worst record in the league. What do you want me to say? With
there were several of us that are 5 and 9.
You want to talk about manager moves from the GM position? Horrific trade after horrific trade. Did Brian win a single trade the entire year, Chris?
He thought he got me on the Michael Pittman for Melvin Gordon. Lost that trade. He lost the trade with Brandon. That trade with Nick, I recall it being pretty fair, wasn't it? That's the Jamar Chase trade?
That's the Jamar Chase Mike Evans trade, correct?
Yeah.
So
that was fine. I have definitely no regrets on that.
Brian, do you have regrets trading for Allen Robinson when me and you did that deal on a late it was a late weekday night?
Yikes.
I do have some regret on that. Allen Allen Robinson's just such a bum. And like getting Clyde was the end goal. I thought if I could pull out one more win, getting Clyde back now would have been enough to make a push maybe in the playoffs. And he was good. But Allen Robinson just being totally unusable was I thought he would get better. It was just a gamble and it didn't work. Josh Jacobs he had like the worst weeks he's ever had in his first two, but I mean, he's been solid too. They've been solid, just not soon enough. And I just ran out of time. They were long gambles. I ran out of time.
Man, if the season just went a little longer, Brian
One more
Gold
week.
could have one more week. Brian Gold could have put it
One
together.
more week, and I was
going to
get it.
run.
You didn't lose. You just ran out of time.
Ran out of time. The old Michigan football quote there. But Brian, again, you might be in the gulag with Allie. You might not be fighting in the gulag, but you're in the waiting section throwing rocks. People.
I'm going to tell you why I don't deserve to be number 11, because I just beat Drew and I just beat the Danksters back-to-back weeks. We're all 5-9. Therefore, via the transitive property, I should at least be ahead of them.
But Drew ran into injuries. You just made shitty trades.
What are you talking? I beat him though.
That's fine. I mean, so what?
I traded. I had injuries all year.
You traded for those guys.
Brian, you traded for a guy with a broken freaking neck. He was Kurt Angle at the 96 Olympics, and you traded
It wasn't ever about Chris Carson. It wasn't. T. Higgins gave me a couple of really big weeks, past 3 weeks. 21, 25, and then 15. Higgins was good. I got the big week I needed out of Ramondre Stevenson. And I would feel comfortable using him as like an emergency running back. I don't remember who else I got in that. Ramondre, Emmanuel Sanders. He was kind of a bum.
Also you traded Javonte Williams.
Hasn't played at all.
You traded Javonte Williams, who's been a running back one the past 2 weeks of the season.
Yeah, that was a gamble.
That was a gamble and you lost. It's the theme of the year for Mr. Brian Gold. He's gambled and he's lost his ass. Moving on to the 10th spot. You know what, Brian? Actually, I could have put you at 10th because I do hate Drew more than you. But you know what? We'll slap.
I should have been 9.
Yeah, transitive.
I would have put myself 9 or 8 because if I beat you, I legitimately think I would have been 7th or maybe in the playoffs because I had a lot of tiebreakers.
Yeah, Brian's been making this playoff push for a month now.
I'm telling you, I had the tiebreaker on the Woats. I had it on who else? I would have had it on the Woats.
He would have had it on Nick B, and that justifies his playoff spot.
That's 6 and 7.
Let's move on here. We spent too long in that shit of a team. Drew. Oh, we're just going full government names here, huh? No gimmicks.
I just figured it's the end of the year. Everyone needs to know who they are. Especially
since Brian's changed his name 20 times. His team name right now is Kyle Pitts fucking sucks. Horrible. You've not had one. Another issue too, Brian. You've not had one decent team name the entire year.
I didn't have a lot of good puns.
No. A wise man once said was better in fantasy basketball last year for James Wiseman. And that one was a shitter. But this man, Drew Johnson, the Suge Knights, you guys claimed him as the best fantasy team of all time 2 weeks into the season. Honor, I remember multiple times saying, "Oh, this league's over. Just hand the cash to Drew. It's all over, my good man." Drew finds himself in the 10th spot. Chris, any thoughts about the great fall of the Suge Knights?
It was a great fall. I was with Honor there. I had Drew as my number 1 team. He ran into some devastating injuries. Some guys who were real boomer bust. Dak fell off a cliff after like week 4. Just got really ugly for him after about 3 weeks. So, It is what it is. I don't think it's anything to do with him and his managing of the team. I just think just a shit year, and 10 is fair.
I still think that if somehow Drew had made it in and he wasn't so devastated by injuries over the year. I mean, if his lineup was Dak, Kamara, DeAndre Swift, Cooper, Lockett, Kittle, like that's still a team that's good enough to win in the playoffs. So it just depends on the day. With Brandon Cooks as your flex, Brandon Cooks is probably his most consistent player all year.
And Brandon Cooks is almost the epitome of a boomer bust player. It's like between Cooper, Lockett, and Brandon Cooks, you just can't have those 3 guys.
Drew had a lot of tough luck too, with the boomer bust guys. So, and McCaffrey, obviously forgot about.
Yeah,
McCaffrey
I mean, he traded for Kamara, right? And then Kamara missed 3 weeks.
Yeah, but McCaffrey also McCaffrey was out for I don't know if it was a knee injury, but McCaffrey got hurt and was out for the season anyways.
Well, I know. I'm just saying, I think the idea, he trades for Kamara, who is healthy, and then the next thing you know is he's out 3 weeks, and basically the 3 weeks he needed him the most, he missed. Yeah. So that kind of was it for him.
Yep.
But a big tune on a 2-year slump, 2 years without the playoffs. But let's get where we at. What are we at? The 9th spot here. Yeah, but obviously 9th spot. Another 5-9 team to join Mr. Brian Gold down here. We got the Danksters. I'd like to point out this was Honor's choice to win the championship, I believe, post week 3 rankings. But Chris, thoughts about the Danksters? And is it a rookie season for Nick here?
Don't know his last name.
Jankowski.
Seems like a nice guy. He fought hard to the end, which we appreciate. I don't know him, so I was real nervous he was just gonna come in and like just shit the bed or like quit, or you know what I mean. He made trades. He's active to the end. His team really never felt like a threat in any way, and even at the midway point, he's kind of just like he just didn't even seem like a playoff team. I feel like he was between 10 and 8 all year. Kind of a lame addition here to the league. A nice guy, but wasn't a great rookie year.
The Danksters? Is the Danksters in the gulag as well?
I'm not saying that. I'm not the commissioner of this year league. I liked having them. I'm just saying it was disappointing to have that kind of season for a new guy.
Honestly, though, I'm sorry, Brian. I'd like to hear your thoughts about the Danksters team, though. Is Brian, is the Danksters in the gulag according to you?
I don't think he's in the gulag because I think he contributes to the group chats.
That's a huge plus.
He makes moves. I like his involvement in fantasy basketball as well. I think for him, it was a lot of bad luck as well. He rode with the guys that he drafted. Antonio Gibson, I think, was underwhelming. Russell obviously got hurt and then was not very good when he came back. James Conner might be the steal of the year.
It's been unreal.
Yeah, leading the NFL in touchdowns.
And then the other guys he got, CeeDee Lamb, I think missed a lot of time as well, right? He was on COVID or something. I can't remember.
He missed a couple games. He was a little banged up.
Yeah, he rode with his guys that he drafted from the start. So that's just tough luck. And even trading for Tyreek Hill, I'm looking at his game log here. Tyreek had those few massive games, but I mean, the Chiefs as a whole were kind of underwhelming. And Tyreek did not do what Danksters really needed them to down the stretch.
It just seems like he was kind of like just a better version of Alley, basically. Like he should have made a move of some sort. He had pieces to do it as well. So
yeah, what are you could have traded. I think you could have traded Gibson to somebody. I would have taken those chances on those people a couple weeks ago. They just didn't work out. So.
Again, he did have tradable assets, and I feel like he did have it post-draft. He had a pretty strong roster. I think I definitely had him as a playoff team post-draft, but when it comes down to it, like Tyreek Hill, like you said, we use boomer bust way too much, but dude, looking at his game log, he is kind of boomer bust, especially for a guy like Tyreek Hill.
This year he was.
And then, I mean, the biggest thing too, I think this is why Chris ascended to the top and he stayed there for most of the year. I mean, this team has absolutely zero depth. It was Zach Moss and Tyreek Hill for Kamara. He traded a rockstar running back 1. And I think it was 2. I think Kamara lasted on Brandon's team for 2 weeks before he got hurt. And then Jameis getting hurt too did take a little bit away from Kamara because he was lesser, definitely Taysom Hill in there. But yeah, even like looking like now, Brian, this roster is 100% better than yours. Like there's no way you think your roster is better than this roster? There's no way. Yeah, thank you. So that destroys the narrative of you being in the top 8. You're deep in that shitter section.
But I did beat him 2 weeks ago. So
transitive property doesn't work in fantasy football.
That's the only thing that works in fantasy football.
All right, we're moving on here. The last member of the shitter section. Another guy who missed the playoffs. Who is this? Oh my God. Talk about a guy who fell off a fucking cliff.
A big fall.
I remember when CUNY was on here. He felt disrespected. I had the AD over him. Look at this guy. He's in the shitter section now. Outside looking into playoff run. Chris, I mean, I remember you were high on Jacob's team too. What happened to him?
I felt different about his team every week, and then eventually, I like mid-season we had him at about 5, and I was like, yeah, I don't. We agree we didn't like the team anymore. Something happened. I don't know what happened to this team, but it was like he was top 3, then he was top 4, then he was top 5, and now he's all the way here at 8th, now in the playoffs. I think he went like legit 2-6 down the stretch. Just fell apart. I don't know what to say. I mean, he made the trade for Diggs, but even before that, he traded me Diggs, but even before that, he was falling off a cliff. Just he kind of rode the Chiefs, and they didn't really come in for him until it was too late. And here he is, not in the playoffs. I don't know.
Yeah. To your point, we've said it every week. The Kelsey Mahomes stack is unreal, but dude, when they were off, his entire team was off. And then he had Najee Harris, who's a running back one this year. Fournette has put up fantastic numbers. You look at this team with the running backs, it should 100% be a playoff team.
How many points forward did he have? Like, he's got to be, I guarantee he's in the top 6 for that.
Or total maybe points for Dr. Locks is 1523. So Brandon, who made the playoffs, put up 1481.
He's right in the middle.
Yeah, even Trudat, that's amazing. He made the playoffs, but yeah, he's kind of right in the middle. He does actually have more than. Oh no, Nick B passed him up too.
Brandon
he's actually bottom. Yeah, he's in the bottom 4 for points.
Brandon had 1481. That's less than me, Drew, and the Danksters.
So Brian, there should be no record. It should just be a rotisserie league and total points for every.
No, it should be based on home record.
I mean, that's the worst bit ever. We're talking about Jacob's team here. Brian, can we give me some thoughts on Dr. Locks?
Yeah, I mean, he drafted the Chiefs. And I'm looking at Mahomes since week 7. Mahomes had 2 games over 20 points, and one was 40, one was 22. He was relying on Mahomes for the 20 points, 25 probably points a week, and just wasn't getting it. And Jerry Jeudy and Laviska Shenault were extreme disappointments. I know there was a lot of hype on them going into the year. I had them both in a different keeper league. I was very excited to have both of them. I thought Laviska for sure was going to get a ton of work. And just Jacksonville is just a total mess, and it doesn't look like Denver can support any sort of viable fantasy receiver. So that was just tough. He stuck with his guys, and they didn't do it for him.
Yeah, he's another guy who wasn't really active enough. Maybe he liked his team a lot at one point. He lost Chase Edmonds, too. It's not like crazy,
but it was solid.
But I will say he was starting him every week with Fournette and Najee. And his lineup with those guys was good. That's when his team was peaking. He was like 4-1 or whatever it was. And once he lost him, he was stuck playing Shenault or Jeudy once he came back from the injury, or Michael Gallup for a couple. It's like whatever it was. So that kind of hurt him a little bit. I still look at his roster, and I think it looks decent. Obviously,
with those 2 running backs, dude, he has the horses. He, like you said, if you have 2 running back ones, even like statistically, Fournette is a running back 1 this year. He's ranked 5th.
Right.
Najee is ranked 4th. That's insane for him not to make the playoffs. But again,
it's the wide receivers.
Yeah, I remember CUNY. Yeah, it's 100% the wide receivers. I remember CUNY saying he doesn't like to make trades, and then he trades Diggs for some depth. And then even Diggs was on kind of the Nuke Hopkins type of role. He wasn't even that good. Then he goes to the AD's team, and it's just not a fountain of youth, but it's just a change of scenery. And he's back with that Josh Allen stack dropping 20 a week.
He probably would have made it if he held on to Diggs. Just that much. Michael Gallup, I always thought Michael Gallup kind of sucks. And I'm shocked that you held on to him all year because he didn't play for the first 8 or 9 weeks.
Yeah.
So you held on to a lot of receivers who just didn't do anything. And that's tough. You could have easily had, you have 2 top 5 running backs, a quarterback who's possible, potential to put up big points any week, but just getting nothing out of your receivers potentially, it's just going to kill you.
And he had the number 1 overall tight end in Kelsey too.
Tight end, and even Kelsey was not what you wanted for however much he spent on him.
I'll be honest, Brian, you got on Allie a lot for the lack of management skills. You could say this roster that CUNY managed. I think he just managed it into the ground. Little Brad Ausmus deal here.
I think it could be the same, but I would say that his original drafted guys are better than who Allie originally got. I would have held on to Mahomes and Kelsey. Mike Williams kind of rode that out to see what happens. But for Allie, I would have traded AJ Brown after the first injury if I was 0-4. You know,
Yeah, but what
Uni didn't have the injuries. He just had.
To be fair, what was she gonna get for him?
She was gonna trade him to the AD for pennies on the dollar. We all know.
If you trade him early, somebody would have given you a 2-for-1 before like week 5.
Great advice from the guy who was 5-8 this year. All right, moving on here, boys. At the 7th spot, the year without a Santa Claus was a hell of a bit.
No, David, you insult like such a Michigan State fan. I just want to say that.
Oh,
like it's all about the current record. It's not anything about the past or like it's all about just you're 5-8. 33-37. Like it's all about the record for you. That's it.
So the MSU thing like, for the past decade where I saw D'Antonio just beat your head in.
It's such a typical State fan.
A typical State fan. So recency bias the past 12 years where I watched Mark D'Antonio literally decapitate your program. What are we talking about?
That's a classic State fan.
How is that a classic State fan thing?
I've seen it all before.
No, the narrative. Every Michigan fan brings up how many national championships they had with fielding Yost before the forward pass is invented. They have a half of a title since the forward pass has been invented in football.
But you know, Michigan. I'm not even going to get into it here. It's not the topic, but just you're such a classic Spartan fan, and you argue just like a Spartan fan. I've heard it all. Talking like,
no. Hold on.
Great advice from a 5-9 guy. Great advice from a 5-9 guy.
Sorry, I just missed you a little bit based on your record. Every single trade you made this year, you got absolutely pants.
I did not.
There's zero merit behind your fantasy advice based
You're
on
not in the playoffs. You're not in the playoffs either.
Oh, see, that's a Michigan thing. That's a personal.
You have the lowest scoring points.
Oh, okay. We're getting nasty.
You deserve to make it.
All right. You know what, Brian? Let's give Brian the floor here. He's got the mic. Cut the pipe on, Brian. Let's hear it.
No, that's it.
No. We're talking. I'm up here.
It's David's team. Are we on David's team?
A year without a Santa Claus. You ruined the bit. Yeah. The first year ever, I'm not making the playoffs in my own league. So let's hear it, Brian.
Let's see here. I don't understand how you didn't score so many points with the team that you hyped up so much. How did I score more than you? You know, if you're 7-7, obviously Miles Sanders was shit, and Terry McLaurin had been good all year, but
he hasn't.
He's giving you Montgomery.
What are you watching? I had the worst draft out of everybody, but on the Bill Belichick fantasy football, so I squeezed my team into a 7 position. And I got screwed because my team just didn't put up enough points. We had an elite defense.
You're the reason that Chris is who he is today. The trade that you made with him is why he's in the number 1 and you're not.
Yeah, okay.
I think that was the worst trade of the year.
How? Okay, but let's go back to this trade. Let me bring it up here. I know we know what it is. It's Debo Samuel trade.
That was the worst.
Stafford and
especially in
Edwards for Debo and Josh Allen.
How is that even that bad? Chris, is that the exact trade or is there a little sweetener in there?
That was it.
So even looking back at that trade, so I'm trading, and says the guy who traded for Clyde that appreciates his upside when Clyde's on the IL for another month and a half.
And when he came back, he did what I thought he would.
Yeah, he shit the bed his first game and he got you 17.7, so he could finish 5-8. But regardless, Clyde was a high upside guy. He was drafted. I would say preseason wise, Clyde was regarded as a running back 1. Am I insane to say that?
No.
Fair.
He couldn't sniff the red zone last year. He had no touchdown production. If they just upped that touchdown production a little bit this year, he would have been a running back 1. And then he got hurt. So and I was in a position where I had the worst draft out. Can we agree I had the worst draft out of everybody? You can laugh about Allie spending $90 on Dalvin Cook, dude. I had Allen Robinson, who was a colossal bust, and I bought him for 37, I believe. Terry McLaurin, total boomer bust guy, and his floor was not even catching the ball and getting concussed after Tyler Heineke's throwing it to him like his Megatron.
Yeah, he was not good.
Miles Sanders, second year of Miles Sanders in this run heavy offense. You know how many touchdowns Miles Sanders has?
He wasn't even playable.
He has 0 touchdowns in the entire year.
He wasn't playable. Literally, he wasn't playable.
If I call Josh Jacobs Brandon Jacobs one more time, Josh Jacobs was what is Josh Jacobs ranked right now? Touchdown dependent shitter who runs for 2 yards a carry.
Yeah, he does. He carries 18 times for 52 yards and maybe bang.
Horrible. I had the tight end. Who'd I get? I got Noah Fant. Noah Fant was a shitter too. I mean, he might have been finished as a tight end 1, but
he just sucked.
Literally, you could say the best pick I had of that entire draft was literally getting Debo Samuel, and then I sold him after 2 weeks because I thought Ayuk could be involved more, Kittle's going to be involved more. I didn't think that was sustainable. Now he's literally the Percy Harvin in the NFL, and the guy above me has reaped the benefits greatly, believe me.
Yeah, maybe in hindsight, looking at the original draft team.
Horrible. It's the worst. It's Brian. It's the worst draft. It's not even being crazy.
I mean, I knew I said it in the other podcast. I knew I didn't want Miles Sanders. Obviously, Hopkins underwhelmed.
Oh, not even Nuke was horrible. Not horrible, but dude, Nuke was not Nuke. He didn't have double-digit targets the entire year.
He
was still hurt.
You bought 2 wide receiver ones who were actually wide receiver 2s, and you
this year
bought 2 running back, high-end running back 2s who are actually like flexes, and it just
not even to mention Allen Robinson, who's been a wide receiver 1 with Mitchell Trubisky.
Oh, he was literally not even.
Allen Robinson is not even worth a roster in an 8-man league. Spot. He's not literally not even worth a roster spot in an 8-man league.
Yeah,
the worst trade. The worst draft.
You know, Michael Carter was your best pick probably.
Okay, Vince Michael Carter. Give him
you were waiting on Vince Michael Carter too, and I knew it. You kept selling me, and I was like, he's gonna be good, but he's not good yet. I was like, I can't do it. And eventually, he was really good for you. And then
he was putting up high-end running back 2 numbers for when you
needed them.
Yeah, when Zach Wilson got out and wasn't Mike White was just giving him checkdowns for 10+ targets a game. He was awesome, and then he got hurt.
Yeah,
you needed him. Looking back, I had no depth. I made a pretty bad trade. Like I did get Allen having a high-end quarterback one, but even Chris owning Josh Allen has been a little inconsistent too.
He hasn't been great. He hasn't been as great as I thought, but I mean, whatever.
He's and again, good. Stafford's going to finish as a top 5 QB.
Yeah,
he had a couple stinkers, and he did. That's not. I mean, too. You look back at my season. I lost to Trudat. I knew this was going to come back to bite me in the ass. I lost to Trudat. I think it was 76-71, and he had Kyler Murray in his roster, and Murray was out that week.
Yeah,
and Stafford on Monday Night Football pulled his pants down and just shit on my entire team, ruined my entire season that night. Not to mention the stat correction it wasn't even a stat correction. Drew in week 2, you could bring it up, Ryan, if you got it.
Yeah,
I lost to Drew by about 0.8 because that idiot you love, Dan Campbell, said it was they didn't want to give up. They're down 40 at Lambeau Field on Monday Night Football, and he has Jared Goff throwing checkdowns to DeAndre Swift on the last drive for about 60 yards. Absolute garbage. So do you even think your team should be above mine for the final rankings, Brian?
I think. I mean, I know you just beat me, but if I had played any sort of viable flex, I would have won.
Terry McLaurin was concussed. I got 0 from him. Kareem Hunt, my running back 2, 3 possessions, and he's off on a cart, and he's out.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. I still like. I think I could have made a little bit.
All right, wait, enough from the clown. Chris, do you have any insights on my team? Year in review from the AD. Let's hear it.
Every week I looked at your team and I thought it looked good. I thought you got Jamar Chase, Hopkins, Scary Terry. I thought it was 3 wide receiver 1s. Just a couple of them didn't really deliver. The running back situation was sticky all year. That's why you made the trades you did made. And those trades just didn't really work. So, I mean, 7-7, not a terrible year, and basically good enough for a playoff spot, right? You just kind of lost the tiebreaker. So, I'm sad Santa Claus isn't coming to town this year.
The first year without a Santa Claus. I'm sickening. I'm sitting here. At least I'm not in the shitter section with Dr. Locks, but you know what?
We spent so long on these bottom 6 teams. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
And now we got.
Well, that's because we're not going to talk about them anymore. You know.
That's true. They're literally, they don't exist anymore.
No. You'll hear Brian still harping his way, trying to fight out a way he can just figure his way into the playoffs.
You want to know what else I'm looking at right here? I'm looking at the points against, which is, not like any team actually plays defense, but Danksters had the most points against him, and then I had the second most. And Chris, for all the points you scored, you had the lowest points against you. So you also had like the best luck of people against you.
I don't disagree. I squeaked by a couple weeks where I definitely shouldn't have. I can admit that.
You had Fearmonger on. You lined up against the AD with that cheese and smile. There's fear instilled in that team.
You had 60 less points against you than the second lowest points against. That's just extremely lucky. It wouldn't matter because you would have won anyways. You were putting up a lot of points.
I'll be honest. I try to finagle or scum my way into the playoffs by saying, let's add up the points allowed, the points for and the points allowed, and then whatever is the highest total, that's going to get the last playoff spot. I was out by about 40
That's an interesting thing. Maybe we'll do that for the
Brian, that's not a horrible idea, is it not?
That's not a bad way to do a tiebreaker. That's an interesting idea. But it's not like we actually do anything for points against. That points against is literally.
But I was saying in a situation like this, say and again, we'll get into it right now with the 6 playoff teams are about to reveal. I was 7-7. And then we had Dr. Locks was 6-8. Then the Danksters was, I believe, 5-9. And then Drew was 5-9. And Brian, you were 5-9, and Allie was 4-10. That's correct, right?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
Allie did Allie not have 5 wins?
No, she's 4-10.
Yeah, she's 4-10. But yeah, again, you could add up in a hypothetical situation, you could add up the points allowed and the points for just whoever is the highest total out of, say, like a 4-way tie when head-to-head is out of there, then maybe that would work. But now I try to scum my way into the playoffs, but it just wasn't happening this year. We'll get to the top 6 right now. Yeah, Chris, it's not quite the elite of the elite. I know the elite of the elite, that special group. We know who the elite of the elite are. Elite of the elite are in this league. But we're getting into the playoffs, coming at the 6th spot. This guy, True Dat. Honestly, I'm going #relentless.
Okay.
#relentless. Now, so the top 6 teams we get government names in the shitter section, but the playoff teams get the gimmick names. There it comes.
Who's number Brian? Who's 6 in the playoffs? I don't know who that was.
We got Brandon #relentless. He's got Mel Tucker with the cigar in his mouth as his picture. Do you not know who this is after playing this league?
He's the only team to make the playoffs from your division. The only one.
What was the division name, by the way, Chris?
Chili them boys. Everyone else is in the playoffs in the other division. Brandon's team. I gotta say, now with that trade for Hopkins, I'm a little scared of it. I can't lie.
Hopkins is hurt, and it might not be good.
Uh-oh. And Metcalf, I don't think he's had a touchdown since Halloween. And Williams, is looking good, but so is Melvin Gordon. That's such a weird backfield. I mean, they're supporting them both all year, to be honest with you. Lamar's been a little disappointing week in, week out. I don't mind Brandon's team. I like it better than one other team. I think he can win a game, maybe. It looks like he has a bye week, according to David.
Again, that will be fixed. Humphreys has had an awesome year. He will get the bye week. It shouldn't be predicated on divisional record.
So that means he's playing the Wodes. I mean, don't you like Brandon to potentially beat the Wodes? Or would he not be playing the Wodes? Who would he be playing? He would go to. Would he go to 3?
No, Brandon wouldn't be at 3. No, Nick has the head. Nick would be the 3rd.
So the whole bracket's going to change when you move Humphreys.
Yes, the whole bracket will change. I should have moved Humphreys.
So I don't know who he's playing then. I don't mind Brandon's team. I like it better than one other team in the playoffs. So whatever, top 5 teams.
Brian, how about a man you helped secure a playoff spot by giving him Javonte Williams and Deontay Johnson this year? Thoughts on Mr. Brandon McKinney and #relentless?
I think it's good for Brandon that he made it, because although he started really hot, it looked like he was in trouble for a bit. And then he had some major injuries, and I know that he was scrambling. He was begging me for weeks to get like another running back or receiver. And he found that from people. And I know that I gave him a pretty solid one in Deontay Johnson. And as long as Melvin was healthy, didn't really ever look like Javonte might take that over. But the 1 week that Melvin was out, Javonte ran with it. And now he's going to probably lead the show the rest of the way. Melvin's still getting a ton of work.
Dude, he gets a ton. Dude, he was better than him last week. He had 2 touchdowns.
But again, too, you got to remember too who they were facing. So they're obviously facing
Alliance
roster that's bottom 3 in the NFL.
Okay, so then he raised Javonte's game too versus them.
Javonte got the first touchdown.
The whole year, Melvin Gordon gets bad mouthed. He's been better than Williams the entire year.
Yeah, because Melvin's been getting the touchdowns. And I think it's a sign that Javonte got the first one in the Lions game. And then Melvin got garbage time cleanup. But I do like
Melvin. No, Melvin got taken. Melvin Gordon got hurt on that series. He got taken out. He was running all over him. He got knocked out of the game, and then he came back. That's why he got the touchdown.
Oh, okay. I thought I was paying attention, but I guess I wasn't during the game. That's not sarcastic. That's not sarcastic. That's
Brian's still the sicko that watches this Lions team.
I watched him. But I think even Brandon's bench is pretty solid right now to have Chuba. Russell Gage might be a solid Chuba, whatever. Chuba Hubbard.
No, Chuba Hubbard. No, you get on me for pronunciations all the time,
Are you
Brian.
sure
I'm
it's
cooking
Chuba?
you here. Chuba Hubbard.
Okay. I don't know if I should trust you. But Russell Gage might be solid. So if he's healthy, if Lamar comes back, if Hopkins plays, there's a chance that Brandon could do a little bit of damage.
Like I laughing here a little bit. I look at this team. Metcalf is a shitter. Deontay Johnson is Big Ben is a corpse as his QB. I mean, who the hell is this? Kendall Blanton was his tight end play. Denver's defense. Buckner got him 14. Aaron Jones, I thought AJ Dillon's good. You want to talk about someone who I thought was going to be surpassed and I thought AJ Dillon's going to run away with that running back position from the Packers, but Aaron Jones came back and dropped 2 total tutties and 20 points. And Lamar has an ankle issue, and I don't even know if he's going to play this week.
He's going to play.
He said he's going to play, but I came in this position too. The waiver wire for QBs is dry. Brandon might have to start Tyler Heineke in the playoff game.
Heineke might not play.
So he's going to have to start Justin Fields in a playoff game potentially.
That would be rough.
But Brandon, congrats on making the playoffs. What are one of my 7 and 7 brethren? Hats tip of the cap to you, Brandon. I think this is this is Brandon's second year. I remember last year he had a horrific season similar to Allie, but he had the most moves in the league. The guy was working the waivers. He was working the phones. He's a tough negotiator. But yeah, Brandon, congratulations on making the playoffs for the first time. You're definitely bulletproof from getting into the gulag with Brian Gold here, but congrats to you, Brandon. Now we move into the top 5. Not quite the lead of the elite, Chris, but a little better than the 6th spot. It just scraped in. I think we all know who the 5th guy is here. I was going to put Honor here, but I mean, this guy, just Undertaker coming. This guy, he was buried deep into the ground. No, not Nick B. We got Alex Truesdale, True Dat. Oh my. This guy was written off, buried. He was deep in the shitter section with Allie. He crawled out like Andy Dufresne in that tunnel. He found the light, and Alex made the playoffs comfortably up a game. Brian, what are your thoughts about True Dat?
I think True Dat's team is in trouble with this latest COVID news. Jarvis Landry will not play. Jamal Williams might still be out. Deontay Foreman got a touchdown, which saved his week, but like starting Ty Johnson in the playoffs is not what you want. And there's no running back on the free agency that's going to help him there. But with, Kyler Murray could single-handedly put a team on his back with Devontae Adams. Those guys can really carry you. He was lucky with a nice, huge game out of Hunter Renfrow. And Gronk's been great, hasn't he?
Yes. Yeah, since Gronk's come back, he's been in like a tight end.
Every time he plays, he's good.
He's awesome.
Yeah, so he's been phenomenal. And but I think not having Jarvis and definitely not having Jamal Williams could hurt a little bit. But Kyler has potential to do anything. So
his dude, this guy, talk about relentless. Oh my God. We had him as low as like 10 or 11. I think he ran 5 in a row. So he was 3-6 with Derrick Henry out. Like he was done. And he is in the top 5. I feel whoever plays him in the first round is just going to be dancing. There's just no way he's going to win. I mean, Ty Johnson.
His running backs are nasty. By God.
I mean, come on. I mean,
especially compared to Honor.
I can't believe he's even here. I mean, whatever. Congrats.
Oh, Honor would be favored by 30 points against this guy in a neutral field. But
not much.
That's it on Alex. That's it. Just he's got no shot in the playoffs.
I can't believe he's here. I mean, that's great. It's great.
Got another new member. I remember Chris told me I brought in a bunch of shitters. He shit on the Danksters. Shit on Brian down here a little bit too. But look at Alex, rookie season. He makes the playoffs. Kudos to you. Overcoming the injury of Derrick Henry.
Huge.
But now we go into the top 4. Not quite the lead of the elite. Not quite, but coming at the 4th spot, we have the Woats, Nicholas Bellamente, the defending champion, if you boys remember, after Alvin Kamara just ruined my Christmas day by dropping 6 tutties Christmas night. The defending champion, Nicholas Bellamente, the Woats. Chris, what are your thoughts about Nick B's team here?
The defending champion scratched and clawed his way into this playoff race. 7-7, he made it. even with his horses sucking, Barkley and Elliott paying big dollars for him, they weren't even good the whole entire year. He just found his way to stay alive. OBJ, his guy, coming alive the final 3 weeks, a touchdown in every game. Cordarrelle Patterson, the pickup of the year for
I was going to say this guy's a big reason behind it.
$0. That Patterson pickup literally saved his season because without him, I don't know where he would be. Probably down there with Brian Gold. Congratulations to our defending champion and my best friend for making the playoffs and cracking that top 4.
I'm pretty mad that I didn't pick up Cordarrelle Patterson because I believed more in Mike Davis early in the year.
Davis was sick this year, man. I don't know how you didn't make the playoffs.
I put so much stock in the Mike Davis to be a solid running back. Thought he was going to get every goal line carry. I thought he was going to get every touch. And it was the exact opposite. He got nothing.
So Brian, it sounds like too, you're just a guy full of excuses. So you're blaming Mike Davis, the sole reason why you didn't have a better year to make the playoffs here. You're talking him up like Michael Turner from 2010.
I think Mike Davis and Kyle Pitts are why I was so bad. I went way too hard on the Falcons, and I think the Falcons are a worse team than the Lions, honestly, even though they have 6 or 7 wins, which I cannot believe how they have that many wins.
I know they're in the playoff.
Okay, Brian, get back on topic here.
Okay. I think the Woats bench could beat a lot of people if they're healthy right now. Jalen Thielen, Odell, Tony Pollard's been good. Like Tyler Conklin, even if that's your tight end, it's not terrible. So his bench is a lot better than some people starting lineups at the end of the year. So he's in trouble just because of injuries. But Taysom gets those rushing touchdowns. I think Devontae Parker is a real nice player right now. I think that was a good pickup, might save him. And if he gets healthy, if he can survive this week, get the COVID people back, I would put I put some money on him to potentially win it.
Oh, okay. He's got is this your Brian? Is this your pick to win the league? Thrown over the
my
AD
dark
and
horse.
David?
Definitely be my dark horse. I do think Hump is real tough to beat, but I would say the Woats might be my dark horse.
Oh, a little disrespect. Hump is really tough to beat, but the AD is just a layup over here, huh?
I think he's in trouble.
Oh, okay. All right. Here we go to the top 3. Coming in at the 3rd spot. I don't even like to say. Oh, actually, he's a really routine name too. David, what is it? Isn't it? I know it's just one shitting on me. David sucks with the picture of Opie that says ugly ass rat. That's just thanks a lot, Honor. I appreciate that. Nothing but nice to you over the years. Who was the only guy that was behind Honor's team as a playoff team throughout this entire thing? Consistently in the top 6, even though his record didn't showcase it. But
probably you.
Again, Honor's been, I would say Honor is since I missed the playoffs this year, this guy's the most consistent player in the entire league. Another top 3 finish to the regular season based on these rankings. But Chris, what are your thoughts, my good man, about David sucks, Honor's team?
Man, I hate to say this. This guy's my good friend. I was really hoping he was going to lose. I didn't want to see this team in the playoffs. I was hoping he's going to lose that tiebreaker. His team's scary. I mean, Nick Chubb misses a few weeks. I mean, he doesn't always hit, but with Chubb and Mixon and Cobb, like that is just a 3-headed monster. Herbert's really good. Ayuk's been picking it up. He's a little thin at receiver, obviously. I don't love the team, but it just puts up points. It just does. It's scary with those 3 guys and even Herbert. So I feel like some of them are a little interchangeable. Like I just feel like he's the class of the 7-7, if that makes sense. Like he's just he's just better than Brandon. Even Alex, obviously. I know they have all the same record. And Alex better record. But I would just rather have Honors guys. I mean, I just would. So.
But yeah, again, like I said, he's the 9-2 or the 1-loss Bama team going in against Georgia in the SC championship game. Honor on a neutral site field against Alex is favored by 30. I hyped up this guy all year, and I'd like to mention too. I know Brian would single-handedly blame Mike Davis for his shortcomings this year. What about Mr. Kelvin Ridley that Honor bid $41 on that got essentially 0 production from? Brian, what's your counter argument to that? This guy's top 3 in the playoffs comfortably.
I mean, imagine Honor's team if Calvin Ridley is producing. He probably gets 10 wins. if Ridley does what he's supposed to. So I mean that's tough. That's why the Falcons are just so bad. And anybody who invested in any Falcon, and I think it's probably an accurate statement. Anybody who invested anything in a Falcon regrets it, because nobody invested in Cordarrelle Patterson in their drafts. They always got him late or got him for free. He was not drafted in like any league. But I think Honor's team is, I think his key players are in prime positions. Chubb without Kareem Hunt gets a lot more of the work. Baltimore has been a tough draw, but I think the rest of the Browns schedule, Chubb's going to get his, 20 touches, 100 yards, and a touchdown. Mixon's great. Cooper Kupp's great. I would have concerns about Brandon Ayuk. That Ayuk's success, I think, is directly correlated to the lack of running backs for the Niners, because without the running backs, Deebo Samuel starts running, stops getting catches, and Ayuk has gotten those catches. I think there's a direct equivalency there. So that's tough. I think Ayuk is on a timer before he runs out. So he might be playing the waiver wire for receivers to get through the playoffs.
Honestly, a little bit of a counterpoint here, Brian, a little bit. Even when George Kittle was out for Drew for about 6 weeks and Ayuk he didn't even see the field hardly. Yeah. And Kittle's been back for the past 2 weeks and has had insanely productive games with double-digit targets, and Ayuk's been okay.
Well, it's not Ayuk, it's Deebo directly.
No, and it's like, yeah, Deebo is like they put him in like the H-back role, and they essentially use him as a running back when, say, if Earl the Pearl, one of my favorite players in fantasy football, is out. So, yeah, I guess I would agree with you on that. For that,
Deebo hasn't gotten like more than 2 targets since those running backs went away. He's just getting rushing touchdowns, and that's why he's keeping his value up.
No, Chris, didn't Deebo catch I thought Deebo had a receiving touchdown just last week.
1 catch in the last 3 weeks. Each of the last
catch in the last 3 weeks.
He just has rushing touchdowns.
He had a rushing touchdown this past Sunday, and I think before that he had a receiving touchdown.
No, he actually had a receiving. I told you, Brian, he had receiving. He had one reception for 22 yards.
Yeah, and then he had.
Oh, I thought you said you. Okay, no, you're right. I thought it was a receiving touchdown. I'll give you that one, Brian. It's the first time you ever write over me ever. Congratulations.
Thanks.
But Honor top 3, another fantastic finish. Honestly, you could easily win this league, but now we'll get into the 2 favorites. These guys have controlled the entire league the whole year. I see the AD yawning up here. Coming in at the 2 spot. Is it the AD or is it David Scum? At the 2 spot, I got to put David Scum Humphreys. We got to give the first spot to the AD. The return to the hump. Honestly, his team just seemed like they kicked it into gear when he made a very derogatory team name and a really hateful and mean picture about my dog. So Humphreys, even Hump wasn't really that active in the league. He made a couple questionable moves, but I got a call one morning. He was like, all right, I'm not paying attention to this league. He's in medical school right now. He doesn't know what's going on. He hasn't made a move the entire year. He called me, and I told him to pick up. I told him to play Quentin Cephas as a flex, and he's like, "Really? Is this guy good?" So he's the Lions' #1 guy. Quentin Cephas proceeded to have 2 targets and 1 reception. And Humphreys, that's what the David Scum gimmick started with the hateful picture Opie. But Humphreys, you made it to the top 2. You're the class of the league. You're in the playoffs. The return of the hump, from the golden toilet shitter to literally the class of the league. Chris, you and Humphreys are on just a different level this year. What are your thoughts about the only other guy that can really challenge you in this league?
Well, some would call us the elite of the elite. He's the only guy I'm worried about. The only guy who I think can take my throne here as the league champ. His team is really good. It's really good week in and week out. I think top to bottom, my team is just a little bit better, but any given week, Hump can take me down. So I think it's going to be me or him. I think top 2 is fair. We've kind of been running the DPBI for a good 2 months straight here. So #2 spot's good for him.
Brian, I would like to point out before you get into Humphrey's team, he actually picked up Mike Davis like a piece of trash out of the waivers and got double-digit points from him. I think that's more than he provided for you the entire season.
Yeah, I think it was one of his highest scoring weeks, which is pretty infuriating because I could have used that. Let me see. It tied with his second highest scoring week. He had 11.1 this week and 14.9 the week before, and he had 11.1 once in week 5. So he's just awful. But yeah, I think Hump's team, I think the things he's got going for him most of all is extreme consistency at this point from Brady, Jonathan Taylor, and Godwin. He needs Darrell Henderson back for sure. And is he
COVID? No, Henderson's COVID,
right?
Yep, Henderson's COVID.
He should be back soon. But Justin Jefferson's starting to really do what people thought he would. So he's been a monster with Thielen out. Van Jefferson's been real solid with a touchdown the past couple weeks. So that's becoming a real nice flex play. And between Damian Harris and like Van Jefferson in your flex, I think that's real solid. And the only thing that's going to knock him off is a bad week from like Jonathan Taylor. That's the only thing that could stop him, I think, at this point. I still don't love Gesicki as a tight end. He hasn't been great. He really hasn't. There might be better tight ends on the waivers to pick up who are more likely to get touchdowns. So Gesicki's tough. That's the only thing I don't like about the team. And that's where I think Chris has the biggest advantage, that Mark Andrews could get him 20 something in a week and Gesicki could put up a 0.
Well, and say even to Chris's point too, when Brett Hundley was in, all he was doing was throwing to Mark Andrews. What did Mark Andrews? Mark Andrews had double-digit targets.
He had a massive game.
He had a huge game.
Tyler Huntley.
No, it's Brett Huntley.
No, it's Tyler Huntley.
Dude, it is Brett Huntley from UCLA. I'm almost
No,
certain.
it isn't.
It isn't? It's a different
Huntley.
Huntley? There's no way.
That's Hundley. This is Huntley.
It's not Brett Hundley?
It's Tyler Huntley.
What is that point to derail me, make like an asshole, Brian? Appreciate that.
There's a big difference between Brett Hundley and Tyler Huntley.
I thought it was the loser from UCLA too.
Nope.
Did you not think it was him? The guy the Packers drafted?
I thought it was.
Nope, it
I
is not.
saw Hundley. He's like, yeah, turn it around a little bit. Maybe runs over like Lamar. Might be a nice
Not
one.
It's not him.
Whatever.
Yeah.
You went 5-8 and you just shit
Not
season.
him.
We're moving on to the AD here. Of course. Number one.
Peach Bowl.
What say that again, Brian?
I said Peach Bowl.
Peach Bowl. Yeah, Peach Bowl. 37-33, bitch. K9 ran for 205 tutties on your ass.
We're in the playoffs.
All right. Have fun getting smacked by Jordan Davis in Georgia. We're moving. Brian just like loves to rail on this, huh? Makes fun of me because I actually it wasn't a mispronunciation. It was the complete wrong player. So I'll give you that.
Yeah.
I'll give you that. But let's look at this. We're just robbing him of his moment from worst to first. I mean, Chris wasn't even an OG in this league. He was chomping at the bit. He said various gimmicks. I remember the division record. What was the Kevin Nash gimmick he had with Hogan? Do you remember that one? Dude, how come you don't remember that? It was great.
The one with Goldberg.
No, that's fantasy basketball. Whatever. But you had a good gimmick. It was like I'm still in this bowl. I forget what it was. Fuck it. It was a hell of a gimmick. Can't remember it. But Chris, before you comment on it, Brian, you seem like you're really leaning towards Hump being the favorite. Would Hump be the first over Chris right here, the AD, and your personal rankings?
I think the biggest issues for Chris is obviously the immediate injuries to Eckler and Allen. Eckler will probably, I know they're talking about both of them playing, but they might just be talking it up. If Eckler plays, he might not be 100%, which sucks.
Guess who has a bye week?
Who has a bye week?
Me. Doesn't matter.
Oh, you're not even playing this week?
Not even playing this week.
I forgot about the buys.
You forget about everything besides freaking Tyler Huntley's business, apparently.
Okay. Well, either way, if they're healthy, then I mean, you know what you're going to get out of them. James Robinson, that was tough that he put up a 0. I'm sure he lost a lot of people. I bet a lot of fantasy players are really pissed at him this week. But otherwise,
he's given me nothing the last 2 weeks, and I still won.
But honestly, like we all know, the onus isn't even on him. The onus is on Urban Meyer. You know,
yeah.
It's a shit show over there in Jackson.
Oh, I'm praying that idiot gets fired or something. Like, God, get out of here. But he also plays the Texans and the Jets the next 2 weeks. So he could easily run for 200 yards and 3 tutties and be fine. That's kind of what I expect to happen, to be honest with you. There's no way Carlos Hyde's taking this job. I mean, come on.
No, he's not taking the job. It's just a matter of, is he going to be in a doghouse or not? Are they in a game enough to keep running the ball? Like it sounds like they want to get him the ball. You know, Trevor Lawrence.
That's
that's
been the issue, is that if he doesn't find the end zone early and then they fall behind, then that's where I don't get that production out of him. But like I said, they're playing the Texans this week. It doesn't matter because I'm on a bye. I expect him to have a really good game. And then when I have him next week, he plays the Jets, right? So I'm expecting something really good out of there too. And obviously, worst comes to worst, I just ideally play Elijah Mitchell anyway. So whatever.
You got Earl the Pearl riding on the pine here. Fuck James Robinson. You got to put in Earl the Pearl, and it's playoff time.
Yeah. If Earl's healthy, I think you have to play him over James Robinson.
I mean, Earl's got, like you said, Chris is on a bye week anyways, but then at Cincinnati, then Atlanta, at Tennessee's got a good run defense, but Atlanta's defense is awful. It's a home game too. And then for hypothetically in championship week, Houston, Earl the Pearl's schedule is fantastic. You could usually start him over Robinson.
And I know that we, both you and me, Chris, had some of the deeper teams early in the year. And I still think that you have one of the deeper teams, partially due to injuries, but Sony Michel is a really good hold right now. Especially if Hopkins is out. Christian Kirk is a viable flex with Kyler. Kendrick Bourne is solid. They're finding ways to get him the ball. And obviously Eli Mitchell on the bench. So you've got the depth, even if there's injuries, and that's your biggest advantage over anybody else. But I'm not going to pay attention to this league much anymore because I'm not in anymore. But if you play Hump, that's 1 week that I'll probably be following that pretty closely, because that could be like 140, a battle in the 140s.
Oh, it's the matchup. Do you guys didn't play in the regular season, right, Chris?
We did. I dropped 180 on him.
Okay. Was that earlier in the year though, when Hump was still rebuilt? Was that the week he actually started Quentin Cephas?
It was middle of the year, roughly.
I think it was.
I got to look it up. If that was the week he was starting Quentin Cephas, that'd be hilarious.
It was actually week 4.
Yeah.
It was only 132 to 106. He played. I don't think
Jonathan Taylor was not Jonathan Taylor. He has been in the second half of the season.
Taylor had 20.
That was like his first good game.
No, his team was his team. He had that whole team at that time.
Oh, you're right.
Whole team. Yeah.
It was Godwin's bad week.
Yeah.
That was Godwin's one of his worst weeks of the year.
We'll see. I mean, I'm riding high. I'm on a 12-game winning streak, folks. 12 games in a row.
I thought Evil was dying a couple weeks ago, and I'm
gonna ride this baby out 14 in a row in a championship title. Not to mention, I already at the regular season. Pay up, Venmo, let's go.
Also, I would say again, there is a regular season payout, so we do got to give commend you a little bit for winning the regular season, being the most dominant team. I mean, you were at the point where you didn't even want to come on here. You were 11 or 12, correct?
I was 0-2, and I was 12.
0-2. Yeah. The team looked like it was headed to the shitters. You hit up Alley. You made the moves. You could be in contention for GM of the year. You could be in contention for trade of the year. You could be cleaning up some hardware this offseason, Chris. Regular season and the playoff championship potentially.
Doesn't mean a thing without the ring. Is that what they say? That's what I'm feeling now.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, but even say like regular season, even if you made it to the because there's no payout for third this year. That was another improvement. So yeah, only first and second are payout, and then you obviously get the payout for winning the regular season.
I would like to suggest for the consolation bracket that we all put a $5 pot in and let the winner take it all amongst all the consolation teams. What do you say?
Brian, I say you brought nothing insightful at all tonight. You criticized me for getting a name wrong. Big thumbs down.
You just let me know if all of us in the bottom, if you want to make a little pot, keep this interesting, you let me know.
So yeah, it's because it's 7 and 12 to play account. You know what, Brian? That's actually not a bad idea. You throw in $5.
We're all so close. I think all the teams are close, and I think it'd be fun.
Yeah, I honestly think Drew's team has put up 130 and lost 130 and 136. I think Drew's team is probably the strongest. You have no shot in hell. Your roster is
I think 100% I would win this. So that's why I want to do it.
Brian, if you win it, I'll personally Venmo you $20. How about that?
This has been the longest episode.
Because listen to this. It's Brian down here. Chris, you're the executive producer. We need Brian to have a mic in his ear. Just wrap it up a little bit. Even your tandem about just attacking MSU fans.
Let's stretch it out.
Brian.
What?
Just checking on my bitch.